Good afternoon, the Heartizan Toolbox. How are you all today? Monday afternoon, so we're all getting ready to all plan our weeks and start kicking off. As you know, our theme this month is storytelling. And we have Jules, and she talks a lot about the human conversation and where we should be and how we should get our message across. Now, through Jules, I've met our storyteller, Dominic De Souza. Hi, Dominic.
Hi, Chrissie. Thanks for having me. Hello to everyone at Heartizan.
Thanks for coming. We love guest speakers so much. So let me tell everyone a little bit about yourself. You are a web designer and a graphic designer as well. So websites and graphic design. And you're stay at home. And
That's right.
Your wife has Lyme disease, so she's been through quite a long illness, hasn't she?
Yeah, that's right.
And you're also a novelist, which you say you've done forever.
Yeah, that's right. Ever since I started reading, I've been loving writing as well.
As everyone knows, I'm just getting into this, and it's a bit scary, really. But, I know I can do it. And you was blogging a lot. That's right, isn't it? So you do a lot of blogging, which we'll come on to, right. I think. And then you're putting all your blogs into a book that comes out in a couple of months. So that's really exciting. Right. And you're mostly on LinkedIn, which we'll talk a little bit about as well.
All right.
So if you want to tell us anything you like about storytelling, how we should get visible, how to use LinkedIn maybe a little bit, blogging as well, because I don't think anybody blogs here apart from me and maybe two others. I think two others do it. So any kind of gems that you could give us would be brilliant.
Well, there's a bunch of great questions in there. Well, let's pick one about blogging. Okay. Let's see. I think the first thought is don't feel the pressure if you don't know what to say or if you don't have anything yet. Don't worry about it. Not everybody needs to be blogging all the time. And in fact, it's those who do have, good contributions to make, or who are able to take, existing or old ideas and then present them in a way that is unique to them and their experiences. Those are the kinds of people that are able to create the interesting kinds of content that people are looking for, that people want to read. I'm sure there are marketers who will be like, oh, you need to be doing this, you need to be blogging every day, you need to be doing it once a week, and so on. But I think that if you don't have the genius for it, don't kill yourself starting out that way. Maybe try one or two or something, but more often than not, good writing or good content of any kind comes after a period of listening. So, for example, if you're not sure about getting on LinkedIn and you don't know why you should be there or so on, if you think of it as a business version of Facebook where people get together to talk shop, to talk about what they're good at, to reach out and network and help each other beyond just being friends. And when you're building a network on LinkedIn, the idea is that you're looking to get to know a group of people reasonably well, network and connect with them regularly, so that if there's an opportunity happens, in the future, you can refer people to that person, or you can, they're top of mind for you. But what not to do on LinkedIn is to start broadcasting and to get on there and start posting, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm doing, and then not paying any attention to the network. It's far more valuable and more helpful. It's kind of like, I'll say this because it's what I did about a year ago in 2018. I was not taking LinkedIn seriously. I'd been on there for like 7 years. I had spam connected to a ton of different people. I was trying to use it to get work, and it didn't work. And so I just, forgot about it and took it out of my bookmarks. And then I used to just do Facebook all the time and learned that some people were taking LinkedIn seriously. It was becoming far more interesting, and so I realized, well, I want to get extra side work, so I need to pay more attention to this. So my goal was then to live on LinkedIn for like 2 weeks and try to get a sense of what made it special. And the value that I got from doing that has been absolutely huge, mostly because I didn't do any posting really. I just went around liking and commenting and really reading what people were posting. So if you figure on doing that for like, a couple of weeks, and obviously it doesn't have to be intensive. I'm sort of an immersion kind of guy, head and feet into something. But go around reading what other people are writing, responding thoughtfully, what you'll find is you start learning and you start connecting with the kinds of people that you like to be inspired by, and start trying to create personal little one-to-one connections with the people that you really enjoy meeting. And it can be something as simple as a 15-minute video chat or a quick phone call, but what you're doing is you're humanizing your network, and not just relying on two profiles being connected to represent a friendship, but you actually saying hi to people, and the more you do that, you will then be in a different place to where you are now. You will have new opportunities, new things to be considering, and at that point you might realize, oh, here's where I could be blogging. Or at that point you might start getting more of the validation you need in that I have a particular story, or I have these particular experiences that have transformed me in a particular way, and I'm channeling that into this activity. And I'm now realizing there are people who would love to be inspired by this story, by these experiences, by the life lessons that I've learned. And then you might then find that outlet, to start blogging like once a month, or writing, short stories or something over a period of time.
Awesome. I'm going to tell you who's on, because Dominic won't be able to see who's on and doesn't know you. Hopefully I can do that. So at the moment we have Dale, Trina, Angela, Steph, Claire, Karen, Amy, Vicky and Louise. Now, people are saying I'm rubbish at LinkedIn and I'm blogging and I tend to bore myself. Trina is a really, really good at articulating and writing stuff, so I don't believe that at all. Who blogs with Heartizan at the moment? It's Carly, who's not here, and Vicky, and there's one more that blogs. I can't think off the top of my head. But a little bit about LinkedIn, guys, is what crafters tend to do is we tend to craft networking, as we call it, in craft groups. And it's not really the place to be seen, because it's a whole load of crafters. They're in Facebook groups and they're just sort of popping up their pictures really for sales. Now, LinkedIn would be better spent doing, we all call it networking, but it's not really. LinkedIn is. That's the difference, I think. So I think if people actually went over there, but there's so many places where we're told to be. Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, but LinkedIn is really valuable, isn't it?
I think the answer will always be it depends. So on the one hand, you're right. Everybody's telling you have to be everywhere if you want to be seen, but I think be where you understand. So if you get Twitter, be there. I don't get Twitter. Cannot understand it.
I love Twitter.
So I'm not on there. But I love LinkedIn. So if you get every social network has a particular charism, has a particular reason for being. If you get it, be there. You're the kind of people that network is looking for. If what you're doing translates well into great photographs, then yes, Pinterest and Instagram is a perfect place for you.
Absolutely agree.
But if you're the kind of person who loves to engage and communicate with people, and with fans and followers and whatever, more than you like to create, content, then places like LinkedIn or Facebook, which is more about the communication and the networking. It's not so much about the content. And I think you get that especially with Facebook. And that's one of the things that LinkedIn has been overhauling itself the last few years. And so when people say, I don't get LinkedIn, it doesn't make sense, tried a couple of years ago, it was a bombshell. Yes, you're right. It was. But what changed, I think, was like new management came in or something. And what they realized is that what worked on Facebook was people loved connecting with other people.
They did.
And so now they're doing more of that, or they've made it easier for us to put that kind of focus. So when it's like showing up to a party, LinkedIn is described as kind of a global water cooler. It's where people get together to have donuts and just talk about stuff, and don't always talk about shop, and don't always look for a sale. So if I'm as a very quick sidebar. A couple of years back, I ran a website, and some people had a crafters group
Okay.
that loved the idea, loved what we were doing, and so I suggested let's all just come together and I'll create the graphics and the design work for your network, and we'll all host a big bazaar, and we'll bring groups and businesses from all over, and once a month we had like big discount blitzes, and it was fun. It lasted for about like 3 or 4 months, and we drummed up all kinds of business for these things, and then I burned out because I was the only one keeping it going, and then they sort of went back off to do their thing. So I get what you all are doing.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's
yeah.
really, really difficult. We've got Samantha, we've got Sue, and Angela says she's on LinkedIn and just comment every now and then. So I use a lot of Facebook. I encourage everybody to go live and start sharing their stories, because that is so powerful, so powerful to come on and say, I'm a crafter, and a bit like my story, I'm a crafter, and I made my cuddle bed for Zach, who didn't sleep, who's autistic, and get it out there. Since then, I've been in loads of magazines, newspapers, on the radio, all that sort of thing, and it all started with Facebook because I used that platform to share my story.
Yeah, I have to admit I haven't yet gone with video yet. I keep trying, but I haven't had the time yet, or the what's it called, the gumption. But I would imagine for some people, it's probably like, well, what do I have to share? I haven't been in newspapers and all this stuff. I make these lovely little quilts, and but I think that if you can't go live yet, obviously video is very powerful. And just sort of wrap up the idea of LinkedIn. If you're looking at LinkedIn as a way to create more business and more sales for you, it probably won't do that. I think focus on meeting and making friends with all kinds of other people, or getting to know who else is out there. If you think of...
Oh, you're frozen a little bit. Are you back? Hello. I think we've lost you, Dominic. Let me go back to... Hello.
Hello, I'm still here.
We lost you a little bit, you froze.
Am I back now?
You're back now.
All right, beautiful. Yeah, so if... like a trade show, everybody has stalls, and there's tons of people walking around looking at how interesting everything is, and everybody's willing to talk about themselves and so on. If you approach something like LinkedIn, or really anywhere, and you go around expressing interest in what others do, right? It's like that great line: if you want to be interesting, be interested. Be interested in others first. So if you go around and we're talking about meaningful engagement. So you actually read their posts, and you read their articles, and then leave a great comment about something that it made you think of, or something like that. Do that for a while first. And if that's what you're already doing, then fantastic, you're doing the right thing. After a while, you may then start to realize, like I say, that you start getting that validation that I do have something interesting I could be sharing. And LinkedIn is all about opportunities. It's not the place you go to make the sales. It's where you go to explore opportunities and to meet other people who might be able to put you in touch with other groups, other networks that you could have never reached on your own.
Absolutely.
And then from there, you might get the sales.
Yeah, absolutely. So with the storytelling side of it, as I explained, and we sort of use Facebook at the moment. All of us use Facebook. So when I started, before I was in any publication or anything, I just used that just to share my story. So it's just going live, and we do a challenge on another group to help people go live in a safe group, and then they go on their pages. So they all, a lot of people.
What a great idea.
Yeah, it's called Live for 5, so it goes over 5 days.
Okay.
Because that's how I think we do. Well, because we have Facebook business pages, and that's where we sell our items, it's good to get on those pages and speak about who you are and bringing your story out to everybody. And people aren't comfortable with that. So, but Let me just have a look. Sorry. Sue, that doesn't matter. We'll see you soon. Vicky says she's always seen LinkedIn as a business network. I've always seen it as a business networking, which is exactly what it is, isn't it? But she's been on there for years. So, when we go live on Facebook, have you got any hints and tips that you can tell us about how to do that? How to share your story?
I think that the answer to that is whatever you want to share starts before you start going live. And I get what you're saying, that sharing your story feels very private, especially if you've been through a lot of heartache, sadness and pain and so on. Coming out and sharing that doesn't always feel appropriate or icky or just whatever. But I think you would do it if you realized that there's a value in doing it. So we're past the point where you're uncomfortable doing it. You know you want to be doing it, or you recognize that there's value. And the question then becomes, what do you share, or how much do you share? And I know for me, I'm always conscious about, my story affects or brings in my family. And so what you end up doing, I think, is something similar to what actually you're doing. You have a great sense of confidence in the story that you want to share. A lot of people, when they are selling their things or they're running their pages, all they're thinking about is, here's this fantastic, lovely, fun product that I'm making, and it does all this and this and this. But if there's anything that we're finding now with shoppers, buyers today, is they want to know who's behind it all. What are the hands and the heart behind this thing that I love this cute little figurine. Who's the person behind it, who made it? So one thing that you can do to start tackling this aspect of storytelling is think of two things. Stop thinking of yourself as who you are. Think of yourself as a role. So you may be, you might be a mother, a dentist technician, a social worker, and college graduate, right? You fill a bunch of different roles in your lives, right? So it's kind of like a movie. When you think of the blurb of a movie, you flip the DVD case to the back, or you're reading the description of a movie. It rarely just says the person's name. It says, so and so, the financial banker, is now faced with this problem, right? Or this person who babysits for her friends or whatever does this. You're presented with a role, right? And that role is as it relates to what you're doing. So you might be a mom, but perhaps that has no relevance to what you're doing with your store. So you can bring that in. You don't have to. Maybe focus on the fact that you actually were a college graduate in psychology who realized that there's a fantastic relevance to how you're making your quilts, right? And so what you then start getting when somebody sees that is, oh, I would have never thought of that role or that kind of character doing this sort of thing. Once you start thinking about your story that way, you then start cherry picking through your life for the moments that create that character. So, like we've said before, I'm a novelist. I could drop everything talking about, graphic design and so on, and only talk about the aspects of my life that relate to writing stories, or the only aspects of my life that relate to graphic and web design, and so on. There's like different threads that you can identify relative to the role that you're doing. So thinking about it that way, that might start helping you to identify what I can share and what I don't need to. Okay. So once you've done that, you identify the character, then the second one is the context. What has caused that character to start taking action, to start doing something that they believe will make the world a better place? And it may just be their world a better place. Or maybe it's just the one or two other people that they love making these things for, and then some other people saw it and started liking it, and so they realized, well, maybe I should start a Letsy store or something. So I think those would be three simple little talking points is, here's me within this role, and here's why that's valuable to me and why it's a part of me, and it's not all of me, because we're multifaceted, but this is the one part that, as it relates, or what I'm willing to share right now. And then here's the context, and here's what's driven me to action, and here's why I believe, or why I enjoy it. And maybe it's just I'm homebound, because of this illness or something, or I'm unable to get back out and do what I used to do, and so now I'm finding a new meaning, and here's what I'm doing with it. And instead of just putting the focus on, now here's my products, go ahead and buy it and I'll never see you again, you're now focusing on building a relationship with people by sharing your heart. It's how we make friends, right? So leading with that as a little story, and if you can't do video, of course, you can just write it out, like 500 words. It doesn't need to be a ton. But what you're now giving people is an opportunity not to just buy your stuff, but to buy into you. And that's what we're looking for, because people today, we have limited funds. We don't have a lot of money anymore, and there's a ton of options out there. So now we're at a point where it's like, well, if I have options, then I want to buy or buy into the options that have meaning, right, that are valuable to me, so that when I get this lovely little figurine and I put it on my shelf, it's not just, oh, that means something to me, but that also meant something to somebody else, and I love what it meant to that person, and I want the option to be able to tell that story when my friends come over and say, well, look at this, here's the story behind this, this other person's doing this, and now it means this to me, and so on. So it's like when we buy things, we're not just buying the right to the thing, we're also buying the right to tell the story of the thing.
I love that.
There's a fantastic, well, it's actually kind of a silly little, it's like a children's movie for Aladdin. It was a live action remake that was on Prime a couple of months back. And what struck me was there are 3 kinds of selling in it that Aladdin himself does. And I think it's a great example of marketing. So the 3 examples are, 1, he shows up with a pair of shoes in the marketplace, and he flat out lies to all the people. He tells them how this is going to make you absolutely, wonderful, and it's going to make you look amazing, and you're going to see yourself this way, and so on. And of course, some ladies come walking up, and they kind of like, the sort of the lovely lies that he's telling them, and he says, see how absolutely fantastically these shoes are made, and he's putting lipstick on a pig, and they're good shoes, but it's the marketing is divorced from the actual thing and from him and from the people, right? And that's one of the reasons why we hate marketing, because we see that being done all the time. Like, this toothpaste, will make you CEO one day, right? Yeah. So that's one kind of marketing. Then there's another kind where he's selling a big, beautiful rug later on in the movie. And he gets up there and he tells this completely fake story about the rug. And he says, there's once this, this mythical being, and she was tasked with this whatever, and then she failed, and so the goddess, punished her into becoming a spider, and so she wove this fantastic tapestry, and now it's telling the story of this whatever, and all of the people are gathering around, and they're fascinated at this story that he's telling them. Everybody knows it's fake, but that doesn't matter. It's a cool story. So when now somebody buys that rug and they put it on their floor, every time a friend comes over, they says, okay, let me tell you the story of this rug, right? Again, everybody knows it's fake, but it doesn't matter, because we love what that story tells us about ourselves, and we love the right of being able to tell that story, and nobody else now has that right. So that's another kind of marketing. Then the third kind is where he's in the marketplace and he sees a beggar who has no shoes, and he takes the boots and he goes and he technically gives them to the beggar, and now the beggar is able to do more with his life. Because he's now able to get around and his feet aren't bleeding anymore, and so on. That's the last and the most authentic form of marketing. And if you follow someone like Seth Godin, that's what he's advocating. Marketing is a form of generosity. It's you recognizing not just, I like to make these things, people come by, but it's, I'm recognizing there's a problem out there. There are some people out there who don't have something, or who could benefit from something, and their lives could be transformed or changed or improved in just a little bit, and they could get a little bit more happiness in their lives, or a little bit of that heartache could be fixed or solved or comforted or something, right? And I could do something about that. And so you do, and you take this thing that you do, and you go out and you tell people about it. But you go out and you find the people who don't have shoes, and you give them, or you help them see, here's why my shoes are going to help you. It's up to you if you want them, but here's what they could be doing for you. But it starts with you recognizing their issue.
And that can be done with any product that any of my crafters and artisans make, can it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything.
You obviously you don't want the first one where you're flat out lying about what your product's going to do for people.
The last one.
But the last two are the ones that are they're fun, they're interesting, and they're human.
So with the fake one, I can get the last one, and I'm sure everyone can. If anyone wants ask any questions, feel free. Hello, Rachel. Thanks for joining us. And I can get the last one about using your heart and giving the beggar the shoes, and that's how your good story goes. How does the fake one work for someone with the crafting? I can't get my head around that one.
It's a great question. It's one of the most fascinating things for me because I love storytelling. So it's a great opportunity for telling fun stories. There was an experiment that was conducted a couple of years back where some people went to an antique store and they bought like $100 worth of just stuff nobody wanted, sort of interesting maybe, but it was just tchotchkes, right? They went online, they created a little store, and for each one of these things, they went and they wrote a completely fake, fun story for each one of these things. So your little unicorn model, they said this thing was once on the shelf of the Tsar of Europe, and it was, taken into hiding when people, evacuated and fled to England to avoid the Great War, and it was then passed down from, whatever, and it was finally discovered in an apartment in Brooklyn, and it's now whatever, okay? They completely made it up. The point was, when they went and they sold these things, and each one of these things had their own story, they marked them up to like $200 each or something, because the people visiting this little website or this experiment knew that they weren't just getting this sort of worthless little unicorn, they were getting the story that came with it, and it came printed on a little card, I think it was. So when they took that and they put that home, again, you're not just buying the thing, you're buying the right to tell that story, which nobody else now has that right. Right? So it's a very different kind of thing. So obviously, if it's something that's sort of interesting and you're a very creative, imaginative kind of person, then you'd obviously need to be upfront about that. But if you're like, there are some little Etsy stores that create these fantastic little figurines that look like, I don't know, little mice or little giraffes or whatever. This side of knowing your business, it's hard for me to extrapolate. But
I'll tell you what Amy says. She says, I add the Native American story of Amy hand makes dream catchers. She's awesome. Okay. She's absolutely awesome. Makes these beautiful dream catchers. And she adds the Native American story of the dream catcher, which is like a fable, as an extra thing that people love that. So that's an example of it, isn't it? Not the fake one.
Not exactly the same thing, but certainly associating a story, you're now associating meaning with a thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So a fake one for a dream catcher. I've got to try and think now. I don't know what... I'm not very good at storytelling, as in that way. I'm good at lives. No. But you could, I don't know, you could make up a name of somebody who made it and call it something different, maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to think off the top of my head because this is all new to me. But that sort of thing, it'd be a fake story around the dream catcher. And this was made by Joe, I don't know, some Native American. Right. You could add a name.
Again, the point is, with something like that, is it's not meant to be real. It's meant for everyone to have fun with. And of course, if you're into storytelling or you enjoy it, what it also then becomes, it's probably like going to be a short story, is it's a point of self-expression as well. And people reading those are after all going to start seeing, there's certain themes that this person loves to talk about, or there's certain kinds of characters they like to write about. And what you then probably will end up getting is a layer of meaning wrapped around the things that you're selling. And it's another way for people to come to get to know you. So on the side, if you're looking for, if you want to be crafting more content, this is something else you could be doing. Is it's like when people tell fairy tales or short stories for children. There's simplified narratives that are often very deep and very rich in meaning, archetypal and personal and whatever. If you're anyway, it's a very unique kind of marketing.
I love it.
But when it comes down to doing more storytelling in your marketing, which is I think the whole point of our discussion, the the focus comes back to two simple things: what is your story, and then what is the story of the people who love your story.
Like that, I've made quite a few notes. What is your story? And what is the story? What is
Of the people who love yours. Because if there's anything about us humans, us people, there's this one comment. I think it was by Oprah, and she said, "People love to be seen, heard, and understood."
Yes.
That's why I say if you go around and you want to be interesting, so you be interested in them first. That's what an adult does to a child. Is you love them first, you express interest in them first, and then that helps them then respond and grow, into that. It's like you walk into a party or you walk into a bar. Don't expect people to be interested in you. They will be after you've expressed interest in them. Ask them all kinds of questions about what they're doing and so on. Same thing with your business and your marketing. If you do more, if you have your about page, you've got your story, why you're doing things, who you are as it relates to what you're doing, and then you spend most of your time not just telling people, here's how amazing all of my things are and all of my services are going to do this and this, and do that. But then spend more of your time celebrating the people who love you. Talk about them. Talk about what they're doing. Talk about who they are and what they were going through and how hard life was and whatever. And then they met you and they started implementing either your service or they bought your product, and now they were able to do this, or now they see life this way, or right. What you're then building up is this body of content, of stories, of proof. And so instead of just being a business making or a product making business, you're now a story making business. And you're providing products to sort of cement or to create artifacts of these stories. There's this amazing book called Giftology by John Ruhlin, and he has this great line where he says, gifts are the artifacts of a relationship or a friendship. And I think
sorry, Dominic?
his name is John Ruhlin, Ruhlin, and the book is called Giftology.
Thank you.
It's written for corporate audiences, but it's got a fantastic message for everybody. So the thing that excites me, again, as a novelist, is to then be thinking about your business as a story-making
I love that.
service, a story-making thing, right? It's not, if all you're in it for is the money, your business it probably won't last very long.
Yeah.
But if you're in it for the people, and you're in it for the stories, and for what the products mean to you and them, you'll not only have a lot more to talk about and a lot more connection points with people, and you'll humanize your interactions, and you'll learn so much more, from everybody. But it's a far more interesting kind of business. Mm-hmm. We all know that we love these kinds of businesses when we find them on Instagram or we find them, this blog where it's like, oh my gosh, this person is human. I understand them. Yeah. I love what they're doing. I want to join this mailing list because I want to be constantly inspired by this stuff. Well, then we do it.
Yeah, that's absolutely awesome, Dominic, because I encourage all our crafters to sell their stories and to do that, but you have just articulated that so much better than I could ever have. Well, that was brilliant.
Oh, you're very kind.
Oh, no,
I'll have to get a transcript of this to see what I said.
Yeah, well, you can watch it back.
Okay.
And it will go to YouTube.
Oh, fun.
So I'll put your name up on YouTube. This is another thing this program does. It sends it up to YouTube. You can't do that from groups, I don't think, in Facebook. So, yeah, that's awesome. And you're going to put your links below, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
So people can find out and check you out. When I'll see it on LinkedIn anyway, but when your book comes out, we want it. We definitely want it. We'll buy one. That'd be awesome.
Fantastic. You're very kind.
Very welcome. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
And have a great day, because you're obviously in America, and it's the start of your day now, isn't it?
That's right. Just hit 9 o'clock.
We've just hit 1. So thank you so much, and we'll be in touch. Brilliant.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chrissie.
Bye.